What's up everyone, I'm Megan Sullivan and thank you so much for joining me for this video commentary on Ghost of Tsushima. This game is being developed by Sucker Punch, it's being published by Sony Interactive Entertainment, and it is coming exclusively to the PlayStation 4 July 17th, 2020. Now I'm going to do something a little different for this video. I'm actually going to freestyle it a little bit because I have a lot to say about this game, and I thought it'd be fun to just sort of go off the top of my head. So please bear with me if I go off on these rambling tangents. At any rate, the reason I'm so excited for this game is because it takes place during the Kamakura era of Japan, specifically the late 13th century, so kind of the end of the Kamakura era, which is a really fascinating time period. And I actually got into this particular time period because of an NHK taiga drama called Hojo Tokimune. And fun fact, one of the stars of Hojo Tokimune is actually Ken Watanabe. So there you go. The series came out in 2001, I believe, and one of the stars, in fact the star, Motoya Izumi, he plays Hojo Tokimune, and he was a really good pick for that part because he's actually a Kyogen actor, and Kyogen is an ancient form of comedic theater in Japan, and it actually started just a little bit after the Kamakura era. So this actor already was familiar with this time period. He's an excellent actor. And actually, Stealth Brag actually got to meet Motoya Izumi a couple of times when he performed his Kyogen plays at UC Berkeley a number of years ago. Really cool guy. But at any rate, I loved Hojo Tokimune. I thought it was a fantastic series. It had amazing acting and beautiful costumes, and most of all, the story of Hojo Tokimune's life is really fascinating. This was a time of great political upheaval, religious upheaval, and there was quite a bit of family drama going on as well within the Hojo clan. So even though the series is 52 episodes long, I never got bored watching it. It was so good. I know it's kind of hard to find these days, but if you can find and watch Hojo Tokimune, please do so, because this was my gateway into this very fascinating era. Now, after the show ended, however, I was having a hard time finding any other shows or any other type of media that really covered this time period, which is why I was so excited when Sucker Punch was like, yeah, we're making a game called Ghost of Tsushima. It's about the Mongolian invasion in the late 13th century. And I was like, yes, this is the time period Hojo Tokimune takes place in. So super stoked to play this game. Like I said, it looks really awesome, but I noticed that it's not the most historically accurate looking game. That's okay. I mean, it looks very Assassin's Creed Odyssey, and I put 200 hours into that game. So believe me, I'm going to play the heck out of Ghost of Tsushima. I'm so excited. But I could be wrong. There could be a lot of history that we haven't been introduced to yet in the game. And there are 5 things I actually am hoping to experience in Ghost of Tsushima, and I'm actually curious about what you guys are looking forward to experiencing as well. So I'm just going to kind of jump into it. One of the first things I'm really hoping to see in this game is historic locations like Kyoto, the imperial capital of Japan at this time, and also Kamakura, which was the seat of power, or the seat of power was actually moved from Kyoto to Kamakura during this era. And I've been to both cities, and they're both beautiful. They have a lot of history that you can see, a lot of beautiful temples and shrines that are over 1,000 years old, beautiful parks. So if you take a trip to Japan, I highly suggest trying to visit both Kyoto, which is in the western part of Japan, and Kamakura, which is actually pretty close to Tokyo. I think it's only like maybe an hour away by train. I can't remember. It's been a long time since I've been, but it's really easy to access, and there's just so much history to see there. So I'm really hoping that we actually get to experience both these locations. Now, to be honest, it looks like the game mostly takes place on the island of Tsushima. That's totally fine, but it would be cool to visit other places in Japan as well. Speaking of historic locations, it would also be great to visit some historic figures of the time period. And of course, one of those figures I'm hoping to meet is Hojo Tokimune himself. He was a fascinating real-life figure. He came to power very young. He became the de facto leader of Japan actually at the age of, I think, like 18. So he was also a bit of a controversial figure. He was thought to, by some, rule with an iron fist, and he was pretty strict. So when the Mongolian Empire was rising, under Kublai Khan. So Kublai Khan was actually the grandson of Genghis Khan. And Kublai Khan, like his grandfather, was kicking butt and taking names and building himself an empire on mainland Asia. And eventually he decided he wanted Japan to basically be a vassal state. Sent some ambassadors over to Japan, and rather than reply to the request to make Japan a vassal state, Hojo Tokimune just sent them away without a reply. And he did this a couple of times until the ambassadors came back to Japan and were like, we're not leaving until we get an answer. And Hojo Tokimune's answer was pretty frightening. He actually beheaded the messengers. And he didn't just do this once, he actually pulled this stunt twice, pretty much locking Japan into war with the Mongolian Empire. Now, the Mongolian Empire actually tried twice to invade Japan. The first time, the Japanese managed to throw them off, and then the second time, they threw them off with the help of a huge typhoon that hit the Mongolian fleet and scattered it. And the Japanese were so grateful for the miraculous timing of this divine wind, they actually called it a kamikaze. That's where the term comes from. So Hojo Tokimune was actually a hero for stopping the Mongolian invasion. Unfortunately, because a lot of the samurai class was financially burdened with setting up defense forces, they started to resent Hojo Tokimune and the Hojo clan. It was kind of the beginning and the end of the Kamakura era at this point. Speaking of political turmoil and a lot of tension between the samurai and the Kamakura Bakufu, it would be interesting to see if Jin, the main character, gets involved in any of the political intrigue that was happening in Japan right now. There was quite a bit of a power struggle between the imperial court in Kyoto and the Kamakura government. And so it'd be interesting to see if we can actually experience any of that, get involved in it. And as I mentioned, Hojo Tokimune actually had some family drama going on. He actually had a falling out with his brother Tokisuke at this time, and so it'd be interesting to see if any of that comes up. Another thing I think would be really cool to experience are large battles. We see a lot of Jin, the main character, kind of going off on his own and doing his own thing, which is totally fine, right? Again, you've got the ability to fight people as a samurai or fight them as the Ghost of Tsushima, so that's very Assassin's Creed. But at the same time, I'd like to see big battles, kind of like Assassin's Creed Odyssey, but also because that's more authentic to the time period. If you look at early depictions of this time period and you look at the Mongolian invasion, there are a lot of depictions of huge armies battling it out, and I think that'd be really cool to experience. And I'd also like to see, we saw a little bit of it in the story trailer, but it'd be really cool to see Jin get to display what the samurai of this time period were actually famous for, which wasn't so much their swords so much as their archery skills. So they were known to be really skilled archers, particularly on horseback. So it'd be really cool to run into these large battles and be able to take down enemies with a bow and arrow from horseback. I just think that would be really authentic and really cool. And finally, one thing I'm actually hoping we get to do is kind of have some downtime. It'd be really great to not just explore the beautiful island of Tsushima, but interact with it. So it'd be cool to like go fishing as well as gather resources for armor. It would be great to sit down with a peasant or a noble and play a game like Go or Sudoku, which was an ancient form of backgammon in Japan. I would love to experience these things. I feel like it would make the game much more immersive, and I'm hoping that's something fun that you can do. And of course, you can always tie it into like the economy, right? Like you win a game of Go and you are rewarded with some money. In fact, betting on Go and Sudoku was a huge thing during this time period. In fact, Sudoku was so popular to bet on that our earliest law codes against gambling in Japan actually stems from people betting all the time on Sudoku. So it's kind of interesting, and I know that because I am doing a history and games episode about the early origins of the Yakuza. The Yakuza was originally made up of two groups, the peddlers and the gamblers were actually the older group, and the oldest gambling laws that I could find stem back from, I think it's like the 7th or 8th century AD, and they're specifically kind of aimed at Sudoku. So there you go. We can do some illegal gambling or quasi-legal gambling. We can experience, hopefully we can experience big battles. I would love to meet some historical figures and go to some historical places. There's lots of things that I want to see, but I'm actually curious, what do you guys want to see in Ghost of Tsushima that we haven't seen yet? What are you hoping to experience? Be sure to leave a comment in the comments section below and I will definitely read it. And please look forward to more videos on Ghost of Tsushima, particularly for history and games, when I will deep dive the history of the Kamakura era and Hojo Tokimune in particular. in future episodes. So thank you so much for watching, guys, and I hope to see you soon.